on, MMA fans? I thought I would come back and do a video on the topic of, oh my goodness, that's bright, driving into the sun. Do a topic on the issue that has really been just beat to death on Sherdog. I've seen it like everywhere as far as forum topics. And when I say beat to death, I'm not, saying that necessarily that's a bad thing, but God, there's just threads about it everywhere. You can go on MMAfighting.com. There's discussions about it on there, and that's the topic about the super wrestler, the individual that is a guy that comes in, breaks his opponent down mentally and physically, war of attrition type of style, comes in and controls his opponent with differing positions with minimal to, reduced amount of attempts to try to finish the fight. I have mixed emotions about this subject, and I felt that it would be a good topic to talk about as far as what my thoughts are on it and what my belief is on the situation. But personally, I don't have any issues necessarily to an extent with guys that come in and break an opponent down like what John Fitch does. I don't always, to me personally, I don't always need a stoppage or a finish to make a fight exciting. Guys that come in and are very technical, that excites me. I like watching those type of fights. Where a guy comes in and just uses beautiful technique, whether it be in the grappling, standing, striking in his boxing, that's exciting to me. As well as a guy that literally shuts down another guy's strengths and puts the guy in dangerous situations. That also excites me. So that doesn't necessarily bother me, and again, like I said, to an extent. Something that I think that, would help this situation, and again, people are really, really upset about this on both sides of the coin, and I understand both arguments. There's some people that are bothered that people are upset about the fact that guys are using a specific skill set in mixed martial arts and neutralizing their opponent. And on the other side of the coin, there's individuals that are upset that fights aren't being finished, that fights aren't exciting enough. Yes, it is a sport that requires some form of entertainment. You do need that there to keep people interested, especially some of the newer fans. That's understandable. But I think it goes, both ways. I think that there needs to be some understanding on not only the newer fans, but the diehard fans as well, that you're not always going to get, a striking, exchange with two opponents. You're going to have different elements that are going to be involved in mixed martial arts. It may not always be exciting. However, with that being said, I do think that there's an element that can be mixed into this that could kind of help even everything out, and that is knees to the head of a grounded opponent. This is something that, I believe should have been, not only in the UFC's rule set, but Strikeforce, Bellator, the United States as far as mixed martial arts is concerned. I think that should have been added in. I've said this before, I don't think that the 10-point must system is a good system for mixed martial arts. I think that the Pride rule set with some additions and deletions is the best form of judging a mixed martial arts fight with the correct types of judges, people that have been involved in MMA with the correct types of referees, as well as having educated people making the rules as far as mixed martial arts are concerned. But with that being said, the actual change with the knees to the grounded opponent, I think that that's going to be something that would take some time. Me and Karsten were actually talking about this the other night, that's something that may not get implemented right away and not accepted, because of the way that mixed martial arts is still being perceived in the States, considering that you still have a lot of the commissions are still going to be watching mixed martial arts closely after just getting done sanctioning them. Ontario is a perfect example. Massachusetts is another example. They're going to be watching mixed martial arts closely. So to expect that type of a change to happen overnight, it's not going to happen. But I think it's definitely something, as well as some changes to the 10-point must system. I think that's something that needs to be done. I've talked about that before, but knees to a grounded opponent, I think, are something that are not too extreme, like soccer kicks that would make wrestlers rethink their strategy. Look at the events from Pride where guys went for a shot and got kneed to the head from north-south. They definitely rethought the strategy of going in for takedowns every single time. I think that would be an element that would help neutralize as well as even out a lot of the things that we do see with guys that are sometimes overly controlling in fights. And again, like I said, it's not something that necessarily bothers me to an extent. There are times I get a little frustrated with seeing that over and over again. But, you know, is the subject of what has been deemed the super wrestler, is it to a point that it's overbearing and, you know, it's a serious cause for concern? I don't think so yet. You know, in the long run, will it hurt mixed martial arts? Who's to say right now? You know, I think that it hasn't gotten to the point, at least in my opinion, that it's a crazy cause for concern. However, you know, if every single fight was like that in MMA, and every single fight on the UFC card was like that, then yeah, that would be a problem. But you still have exciting fights. You still have guys that mix it up. You still have, you know, entertaining technical fights. Something that bothered me was the Frankie Edgar fight. A lot of people were bothered by that, and, you know, they've said that you know, the fight bored them. You know, personally, I thought it was a very good technical fight. It was very intriguing. One of the things that was said about both fights is that Frankie Edgar didn't attempt to try to finish the fight. I would agree with that to an extent to the first fight. However, the second fight, if you go and listen to some of those hooks and some of the crosses that Frankie landed on BJ's chin, those were some Those were some tough shots. And you know, most of the other guys in that division would have been, you know, I don't know necessarily maybe not necessarily rocked, maybe not necessarily KO'd, but definitely would have been hurt at least. And, you know, BJ's got one of the toughest chins in mixed martial arts. It's very tough to not only hurt him, but rock him as well. So when you consider the amount of damage that BJ did take with some of those shots, you know, I think, you know, Frankie did try to, in some of those exchanges, land some shots that he thought would hurt BJ, you know, as well as some elbows within BJ's guard when he had BJ on the ground. But again, that's just a testament to how good BJ Penn is as far as his chin is concerned. You know, Frankie was weary of that. He knew what his strengths were. He knew that if he got into, you know, a slugfest with BJ, it wasn't a good idea. Be technical, move side to side, land the strong shots, and land the strong punches when you can with his boxing, and then move out of the pocket. You know, it's understandable. But I think to say that Frankie didn't attempt to try to completely finish that fight in the second fight, I think is a little bit, just in my personal opinion, I think that is, I don't necessarily agree with it. I would say that in certain points of that fight and the first fight, I don't think that he was attempting to try to stop the fight. But there were definitely some really good combinations that Frankie landed that were some really hard shots, especially to the body on the way out, you know, landing some nice uppercuts and some nice hooks. But those were some tough shots. So if you go back and watch the fight, listen to those again. I mean, they weren't weak shots. He hit him with some flush stuff on the chin. So that's just my personal opinion about the super wrestler topic. If you feel, you know, compelled to give some insight about it, feel free to. I tried to cover both sides of the spectrum, if you will. I'm kind of in the middle on this subject. I'm not really necessarily too upset about it, as far as, you know, guys being, you know, strong in their game plans and strong at what their skill set is. A guy like John Fitch that neutralizes someone, you know, it doesn't necessarily bother me that much. And again, I also understand, you know, from the other spectrum, how people feel about, you know, the fights not being as exciting. I mean, it's understandable. I get that. Just to me personally, I don't get too bothered by a guy doing that, and I also don't get too bothered by, you know, a technical fight like I was talking about the Frankie Edgar fight, where people were really upset for whatever reason. You know, I thought it was a very interesting technical fight that was intriguing. Yeah, it was very similar to what we saw in the first fight, but how many times have you seen BJ Penn? I mentioned this in my 118 overview video. How many times have you ever seen him outworked like that? How many times have you ever seen him hit with some of the hard shots he took, as well as getting taken down the way that he did? You know, it's very interesting to me, at least, and compelling. So leave me your comments, constructive, negative, positive. If you feel compelled to do a response video, I'd love to hear what you think, as well as comments. So you guys, take it easy.